in Alabama. He is about to take off from our state capital, headed back to the nation's capital there in Washington, D.C. We are using our tower cam there, trying to zoom in to see if we can see Air Force One getting ready to take off. We do know it's moving and should take off there shortly. He landed there at Maxwell Air Force Base around 1:15 this afternoon, got off Air Force One about 15 minutes later and onto Marine One, and took about that 20-minute flight to Craig Field in Selma, where he met with officials like Selma Mayor James Perkins and Congresswoman Terry Sewell. And Congresswoman Sewell was the one who encouraged him to come to Selma, and he listened and he did come, and now he is about to depart Alabama.
Yeah, you can see the plane taking off there. The president did travel with a number of people today, including the press, and also he had his deputy chief of staff, his press secretary, a director of communications, and he also had Secretary Marsha Fudge with the Department of Housing and Urban Development. She also traveled to Montgomery today for today's reenactment of Bloody Sunday.
And this is the president's second time at Maxwell Air Force Base in less than a year. He was here last May when he went to thank the good people at Lockheed Martin who are building those missiles that the United States has been sending to Ukraine to help in their fight against the Russian invasion. But this time he came to visit Selma for the bridge crossing and to also talk about the recovery from the January 12th tornado. This was his third trip just to Selma. He was here when he ran for president, and he was also here when he was vice president of the United States. And he talked about being here the last time with John Lewis. I think he was here in that final bridge crossing with John Lewis before he passed away the following July. And he even quoted John Lewis during his speech today.
Yeah, we heard a number of quotes, even from Congresswoman Terry Sewell, who often quotes John Lewis, a very good friend of hers as well as a colleague. So what do you do when you travel somewhere for 4 hours, land, take care of business, and get back on a plane?
That's just not an average plane, though. Valerie, do you know what they have inside Air Force One?
You take a nap.
You're going to take a nap.
That's what you do.
I imagine he's getting, it's about 6:15 Eastern time, so he may be getting something to eat. I wonder if they have a meal prepared for him.
Absolutely. That's what I'm thinking. You know, what happens when you get back on the plane? You know, I've flown on just regular planes, of course, but I take a nap.
Do you think he has to turn off his cell phone and
put
his seat in the upright position?
Absolutely, absolutely. And there you see Air Force One taking off, leaving Maxwell Air Force Base.
President Joe Biden now on his way back to the nation's capital. I imagine he probably had to make a call to his wife before he took off, like we all do, you know, call our loved ones before
That's right. I'm coming home, honey.
But you know, it's a sight to see when you see Air Force One fly into your city. No matter your political views, it is always incredible to see that plane that carries the Commander-in-Chief arrive and depart your city.
As we watch, it gets smaller and smaller and just kind of disappears into the clouds.
This is a short trip, an impactful trip with the President of the United States coming here. There's another view. You see it taken to the beautiful blue skies. And I saw the President smile when he got off Marine One, then when he got off Air Force One initially. And I think he was looking around saying, this is some fantastic weather down here in Alabama. Maybe that's why he comes so often to Alabama.
There it is, Air Force One leaving Maxwell Air Force Base after a quick trip to Alabama to visit Selma to commemorate the 58th anniversary of the march from Selma to Montgomery.
You know, be out of sight here shortly. It's what, about around a 2-hour trip back to the nation's capital? Sounds about right, Valerie?
Sounds about right. The last time I was there. Yes, it sounds about right.
So, you know, I'm sure he's getting ready for another busy week ahead. And it wasn't until Tuesday of last week, just a few days ago, that we got word that the president was coming. So just a few days heads up that we knew the president of the United States was coming here to Alabama. And you talk about all the law enforcement and the scrambling that they had to do to make sure this was secure for the president's visit. And they're doing this in an area that was just devastated by a tornado.
And there was
they pulled it off
question,
beautifully.
Yeah, and there was question about whether the Bridge Crossing Jubilee would go on because of the devastation in Selma. And then you hear that the president is coming, and a number of people worried about that. But they pulled it off. And talking about scrambling, when we learned that he was heading to Alabama, we had to scramble too to get people in place. But it all worked out. And I think it was a seamless visit for the president.
Yes. He is flying out of Montgomery, Alabama right now.